tapping into the true potential of the human spirit. This is Humanity Empowered. This is the Implicit Show. Hello. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Implicit Show. So today, it should be a fun little episode. Actually, I'm just on my own today. I got my friend Andrew here. Andrew, how you doing?
Good.
Great. She's doing good. Anyways, today on the show, I got a pretty fun little topic here. Actually, one second here. Let's make sure we get Periscope going. Actually, before I go into it at all, make sure you share this post. If you're listening on Facebook or if you're listening on iTunes. I guess if you're listening on iTunes, it might be tough to listen live because we're not live on iTunes. But we're live on Facebook, Instagram, Periscope, Twitter. Wait, Twitter is Periscope. YouTube, Twitch. Regardless, I got a fun little topic today. Something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and part of this comes up because I've been listening to Tony Robbins' Personal Power Program. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. It's actually called Personal Power 2. It's like one of the most successful personal empowerment, personal strategy, achievement programs of all time. It really is amazing. Hey, what's up? We got Sinat here from Hawaii in the comment section. Sweet, man. If you have any questions regarding core values, that's what we're getting into today. So I got core values. This whole idea specifically came from a tape I heard today from Tony Robbins. And the idea of what is a core value, right? What are our core values? What do we talk about this? Well, core values are really, it's something that you value for, is something you pursue more than anything else. So there's really two kinds of values that Tony talks about. In this tape, he talks about you're moving towards values, right? The states that you're trying to move towards, the states that you're trying to gain, and you're moving away from values. So the things that you would do anything to avoid. And really what this comes down to more than anything, and at its most basic level, I think is it's a pain and pleasure thing, right? We talk about the pain pleasure principle on this show all the time, which is another thing I learned from Tony Robbins, but I'm sure that it's not unique to him because it's such a powerful concept that so many people talk about in psychology and in all sorts of stuff. So the pain pleasure principle really says, everything we do to gain pleasure and to avoid pain. It's just at our most, survival animalistic point, that's all we do. We're always looking for ways to bring more good to ourselves, bring more pleasure, more good things, and to avoid the bad things, get away from the pain, get away from the suffering, right? And what values really are states that we kind of measure pain and pleasure by. So for example, which would you say you value most? Love, adventure, success, freedom, passion, relationships, family, right? Whatever it is that you pick on those things. Now think about it though. Those are all great things, right? All those values, we all want love, success. We all want health. We all want all these things, but we each kind of learn to value them at different levels. So say, for example, for me, I might value love more than anything else, but my friend Andrew over here might value success more than love. And how does that work, right? How does that happen? How could human beings want something else more than something else? Well, it really comes down to pain and pleasure, right? Because we've been conditioned through our lifetime to associate certain levels of pain and certain levels of pleasure to different topics, to different values. So we've got Sean in here, Sean Douglas. He says core value is a great topic. It really is, Sean. If you have any questions or if you have anything to add to this, let's get into it, man. I'm pumped about it. But, for example, say I value love more than success. Why? Well, maybe I say I value love more than success because, hey, you could be the most successful person in the world, but if you're not loved, if you're not feeling love, then what's life, right? What are you doing with your life? For somebody else, it could be, security. They value security more than anything else. Hey, I could be successful. Sure, I could be loved. Sure, I could be healthy. But what if what if I'm not safe? What if there's no certainty in my life? There's no stability, right? Some people, that's what they're looking for. And so understanding your core values, why this is so important is because when you understand what it is you're after and what it is, like the reason why you make decisions, it changes the entire game because now you get to choose how you're going to approach things. You get to choose what you're going to go after and how hard you're going to go after it. And so this has been such a powerful topic for me in my personal life because, like, I'll tell you, there's been points where I've been just on top of my game, like just making everything happen, kicking ass, loving life, producing results, inspiring people, and it's amazing. And there's also been points in my life where I've been completely lost. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm kind of just walking around in circles, can't figure anything out, can't produce any results, just feeling upset, overwhelmed, depressed, stressed, all these things. So what's happened for me though is I've been able to drastically be able to control the way I feel about things because I understand my core values now. And I didn't always understand my core values, right? It took me, I had to go through an exercise to figure out what it was I valued most. And that's something that we're going to go through today in this show. We're going to help you realize and discover what are your core values? What do you value most? And is it serving you? You know, for example, say you value adventure more than anything else. Adventure is number one on your list, right? And then on the bottom of your list is something like security, right? Tony uses this example. It's amazing, right? That's going to drastically change the way you live life. Think about it. If adventure is your number one thing, if somebody asks you, hey, do you want to go skydiving? Do you want to go travel? Hey, do you want to get up and go on an adventure? Do you want to get off the couch, right? That's huge. You'll do it. If adventure is your number one value, you'll go because all you're looking for adventure, right? And security is at the bottom. But try this. What if we switched those two? What if we switched, number one on the list, adventure, and then number 25 on the list, security? What if we switched them? And all of a sudden, security is your number one value and adventure is your very least value. You know what I'm saying? That's going to change the way you make decisions. It's going to change the way you live your life. Think about it, because now if somebody asks you to go skydiving, you're going to really think differently because now all of a sudden you value security. And, for a lot of people, skydiving isn't very secure. It's not very safe. There could be pain involved. It's a little uncertain. You got to step out of your comfort zone. It's dangerous, right? So somebody who's adventurous, they hear that and they're like, hell yeah, man, I'm after it. I'm ready for this. But somebody who is not so adventurous might not be down for that idea. So that's why it's so powerful to really understand what your core values are and to be able to control them. So give you an example for myself personally in my own life. When I did this exercise, I realized that my number one value in life, I think at the time was certainty. It was like I needed to know that everything was going to be okay. I needed to know that I was organized. I had systems. I needed to know that I was safe. Like security was up there, safety, just like certainty, right? It was like, for me personally, it was tough for me to adapt to situations where unexpected things happen. It's like I was so certain about this, certain trip that we're going on, and then all of a sudden I got to take a detour, and it stresses me out because I was so certain about this, and now all of a sudden I'm uncertain because there's a detour and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, right? And so you could probably tell why I was stressed out. I was frustrated all the time because I felt like nothing would ever go my way. I always had to have things go my way because my number one value in life was certainty. Like I had to be certain that things were going to go my way. And they wouldn't most of the time. It just didn't work. And so I had to take a look at my list and the things that I value most, and I had to switch them around. And that's what we're going to get to you guys to go through today, which is going to be really valuable whether you're watching live or whether you're watching on iTunes or YouTube months later. It doesn't matter. This is something you could do with us right now. You don't need to be live. So let's do it. So if you want to discover what your values are in anything, it's really simple. All you got to say is, what matters most to me in blank, right? So if you want to discover what are your values in life, what matters most to me in life, and then write them down. Just jot a bunch of notes. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to number them or anything. Just jot a bunch of notes right now. Okay, what matters most to me in life? Maybe it's love. Maybe it's success. Maybe it's happiness. Maybe it's relationships. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's family. But before I say money and family as an example, try to go for states instead of means. So money, what's money? Money is really just a means to an end, is it not? Right? Because you don't want money. You don't want little pieces of papers with like pictures of dead people on it. You just know you want the states that money will give you. Maybe it's success, maybe it's freedom, maybe it's love, maybe it's significance. That's what you want. You don't really want money. You don't really want the paper, right? Same with the car, right? What matters most to me in life, if you wrote your car, it's not your car. It's not even your family, right? It's the states that the car, money, family will give you, right? Maybe what family will give you is a feeling of love, a feeling of contribution, a feeling of, so really what we're looking for are the feelings that you want, not the stuff you want, because the stuff doesn't matter as much, because once you realize the feelings you're after, you could hunt down those feelings in different ways. You don't need the car to feel significant. You could find different ways. You don't need the family to feel loved. You could find ways to love yourself. So that's something that you could, you know what I mean? You could work with. So ask the first question. What matters most to me in blank? What matters most to me in life? If it's relationships, if you want to know what matters most to me in a relationship, That's all you got to ask. What matters most to me in blank? Relationships. What matters most to me in business, in career, in my spirituality? What matters most to me in my health, right? Once you figure out these things, you'll figure out what it is you value most. Now, say you've got the list, okay? Maybe you wrote down love, success, adventure, security, and maybe you also wrote down like happiness or something, or maybe, did I say happiness? Whatever, it's important. Happiness. So you wrote down those things, okay? And say number 1 on the list right now, you have security. Number 2 on the list, you probably have success. Number 3 on the list, you probably have freedom. And then number 4 is happiness. Number 5 is health. Number 6 is happy or love or something like that, right? So what you could do now is take a look at all those and try to rearrange them. Rearrange them so that it makes more sense for you. Let me tell you a story about myself, I guess, which will probably help you get an idea of how I did this and help you get the hang of it as well. How I did this was I took a look at everything, and like I said before, certainty was my number 1. It was the number 1 thing I was after. All I wanted to was to be certain about everything. And so I took a look at everything and I completely rearranged it. I really did. And it changed everything for me because it changed the way I made my decisions. It changed the way I looked at life because all of a sudden I was looking at life through a different filter. Instead of the filter being, okay, I'm going to look at life through this filter of security, I said I'm going to look at this filter through love. That is my number 1 value, is love. Now, why do I choose love? I truly believe there's nothing more significant than love. I truly believe that we are like human beings. Everything we do at the most basic fundamental level is for love. You know, I mean, a child, when you think about it, a child, a baby cannot even live without love. A baby, if you took a baby right after the baby comes out the womb, you take that baby away from their mother and you separate them, it's done. Like that baby is changed forever. In fact, if that baby even survives, right? You can't just let a baby run around in the wild and like hunt down its own food and, you know, figure everything out on its own. A baby can't do that. That's the thing, beautiful thing about humans is we need each other. And so I believe love to be the number 1 value. And that's why I put that at the top of my list, because I realized, hey, if I'm going after success, hey, if I'm going after adventure, hey, if I'm going after security, if I'm going after any of these things, I'm really only doing those things for love. And so why not just, you know, take a shortcut and put love at the beginning, at the very top of my list. So that's huge for me. That's number 1. Number 2, I think on my list right now is happiness. Happiness for me is number 2 on my list because I truly believe that life is all about enjoyment. Like, it's more important to enjoy than to achieve. So I tell myself all the time, because what happens for so many of us, and what's happened for me personally in my life, is I do things, I'd work my ass off, I go all day long. For what reason? To achieve some sort of goal so that I could be happy, right? And what happens if I don't achieve it? Then I'm unhappy. And so I've learned to kind of, and I'm not perfect at this, don't get me wrong, but I've learned to find happiness and love without achievement. Believe it or not, I don't have to do anything to feel happy. I just feel happy for the sake of it. I don't have to do anything to feel loved. I make it easy to attain my values so that I live a great life. So I live a life of meaning to me that I really enjoy. So that's why number 2 is happiness, because look, you could be upset, you could be pissed off, you could be sad, you could be depressed, whatever it is, but that's not living to me. To me, it's like love, happiness. You need the happiness. Number 3, my 3rd value that matters most to me in my life. And again, I'm not saying this is the way you need to live, because it's all different for all of us. It really is. This is my core values and how it makes sense to me. And then you could take it, you could use it, you could just copy exactly what I'm doing. You can make up your own. You could even copy what I'm doing for now until you try it out and you start to figure out what works for you. And then you could switch things around, or you could just do the exercise and figure it out right now. But anyways, number 1 is love. Number 2 is happiness. And number 3 for me is health. Now, believe me, health used to be at the bottom of my list. I thought health is so freaking stupid, you know? Like what? You're going to spend so much time working out, it's going to suck. You're going to eat healthy food, it's going to suck. All these things are going to happen, and what's going to happen? You're going to die anyways. Who cares, right? Why even try? And so I had to really switch my mindset around, because what I realized was success at the time, like years ago, success was probably very high on my list. It was maybe 2 or 3 on my list, and health was at the very bottom. And I had to completely switch those, because I realized, can you really be successful without being healthy? I mean, would you want to be the most successful person in the world who feels like shit all day? Would you want to be the most renowned, famous, you know, philanthropist, businessman, CEO, and just like live in a hospital bed. Like, just doesn't sound fun to me. So health is so huge to me because I want to feel loved, because I know that's what we're all after. I want to be happy because I know we're all working towards happiness. And 3, I want to feel healthy because I realize that I just want to feel good, right? And I realize a lot of my core values have to do with myself first and foremost, because I've realized this in my life. If I take care of myself, man, it pumps me up, and when I'm pumped up, it pumps the people up around me. And so you ever notice that, like when you see somebody, maybe you haven't seen somebody in a long time, maybe it's somebody you're a family with, and you guys get together once every year for family dinner or something, and you ever realize, like, you ever see a person who you haven't seen in months or even years, and then all of a sudden you see them and they seem to be doing so well. They're looking good, they're healthier, they're just happy and smiling, they're engaging with you, they're present, they're having a great conversation. Like, it's just somebody, there's something about that person, there's something about their aura, their being, that pumps you up, that gets you going and inspires you to change, and inspires you to do better. So that's why I think for me it's so important that I take care of myself, because the next value that I have after health is freedom. Now, freedom's important to me, and what freedom really means for me is I want to have the ability to make choices, like put choices for myself, right? I want to be able to choose what I want out of life. I want to be able to choose where I could go, what I want to do, what kind of contributions I want to make. The ability of freedom, because look, the way I say, you could be successful, it's amazing. But if you have no options, if you have no choices, like, success could also be a prison, right? Success could also be you're stuck in the success zone, right? And you can't get out of it, right? So freedom's so important to me. And after freedom comes success. Now, what does success, it's interesting, everybody's got a different definition of success, but for me, what all success means is impact, influence, contribution. Do you know what I mean? Like, success means I'm successful when I'm learning every single day, and when me learning and me growing and me doing better it's influencing other people, right? So I'm just doing it for myself all day long, just for me. It gets kind of boring and repetitive, right? I really believe that true fulfillment comes from including other people. True fulfillment comes from serving others. And that's why it's so important in my life to do this kind of thing. Like, I'm on camera right now. The reason I do this, guys, is because it meets all my values. Right? I get love from you guys on Periscope. I'm getting hearts like crazy from you guys, and all over Facebook and everything. I'm getting love from you guys. I know that I'm sharing a good positive message. What's my second value? Happiness. This makes me happy because, I mean, it's just what I like to do. I like to talk about these things. I like to share the things that I learned in my life with you guys, so that maybe you guys can be inspired to create some changes in your life, or to just be happy, whatever it is. Health is huge. I just had a salad. It was delicious. What's after health? Freedom. Freedom. I got the freedom of speech, right? That's something that I love about doing this thing right here, is I get to talk about whatever I want, right? If I want to talk about life, I'm going to talk about life. If I want to talk about salads, I'm going to talk about salads. If I want to talk about H2O, I'm going to get all over that H2O. I got the freedom of speech here to talk about whatever I want, and to be whoever I want, and to truly, no rules. It's all, I could do whatever I want here. And finally, success. I find this, I'm succeeding because I'm getting messages from you guys that say, wow, some of the ideas you're sharing on the show, some of the people you're interviewing, some of the strategies you've shared have really helped me in my life and helped me turn things around, helped me shift things. Even if it's just a small little message on your Facebook feed that says, be happy today, smile, something that comes up when you're scrolling through your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even something as small as that, I believe, can create incredible, beautiful change in people's lives. And so that's why, by doing this show, I'm meeting all my values. And so that's why I keep doing it. That's why I keep succeeding at it. That's why I keep having fun. And so that's moving towards values, right? That's another way of explaining how do you figure out the things that you want to move towards, right? And again, just a quick recap, you want to find out what your values are, ask what's most important to me in blank. Whether it's you want to discover what your values are in life, in business, in relationships, whatever it is. And this is so beneficial too, especially if you're in a relationship with other people. Because if you ask yourself, what do I value most in a relationship? Ask yourself, maybe it's trust, maybe it's intimacy, maybe it's playfulness, maybe it's freedom, maybe it's security, right? I don't know what it is for you. It's going to be different for everybody. And that's another beautiful thing about this whole value idea, because not only does it drive your entire life, but everybody is driven by different values, and because they're driven by different values, they make different decisions, they create different results, they have a different life, and it's just beautiful, man. So we touched on moving towards values. Now I kind of want to touch on moving away from values, because these are also just as important. Not only do you want to figure out what it is you're after in life, you want to figure out what it is you don't want. You want to figure out what it is that you're trying to get away from, and that's where these moving away from values come from. And so the way I've designed my moving away from values, and the way you could figure it out, is what do I want to avoid most in life, right? That's another question. And again, maybe it could be depression, stress, overwhelm. Could be frustration, anger, rejection, embarrassment, humiliation, failure. There's so many different options that you could have, but I'm just going to tell you my personal moving away from values, so that, again, I think it's just a great way to give you guys an example of how it works if I just tell you about myself. So my moving towards value was, if you recall, number one was love. That's the number one thing I'm after, guys, is love. Now, the number one thing I'm moving away from that I don't want is depression. Depression to me is absolute, like, it's failure. It's stress. It's depression to me. Like, I've been through depression, guys. I've been suicidal. I've been to the darkest points of where my mind would take me. And I know what it's about. I get it. And that's why it's my number one moving away from value. Like, I don't want anything to do with depression. To me, depression is failure, right? Because to me, depression means that I would have to forget about how truly blessed I really am. For me to be depressed, I'd have to forget about how grateful I am. I'd have to forget about the family that I have that loves me. I'd have to forget about all the blessings and opportunities that I've been given in life. I didn't even have to work for so many things. Like this technology, I didn't have to make this up. I didn't have to create this. I didn't have to figure out the science of it. No, it was just given to me in my life. Science was just given to me, right? The information I'm sharing with you, this whole idea of core values and everything, I learned this from Tony Robbins off a freaking audio tape that I listened to on my phone, right? I'm so grateful that I have those kind of opportunities. And so that's why depression for me is my number one moving away from value. And it's important to also realize, I mean, I'd love to do another episode on this to elaborate, because there's so much that goes into this topic, and it's so beneficial when you discover these things, right? Because it's really about discovering who you are and how you work. And when you know how you work, you could work yourself to get the things you want, to get to where you want to go. And so for me, moving away from is depression. And why, I already explained to you, right? Because depression to me means failure. It means ultimate pain. It means that I'd have to forget about how blessed I really am in life. And I truly am blessed. And so moving towards love, moving away from depression. Number two, I'm moving towards happiness, and I'm moving away from stress. So stress is my number two moving away from value, because I believe if you're stressed, you're depressed, right? Stress is just another way to say you're fearful. It's just another way to say you're depressed. It's just another way to say you're not where you want to be. And for me, stress really means like failure. Like, that's why it's my moving away from. Hey, we got Camille here on Periscope. Great to see you. It's been a while. I'll just talk about my core values right now, what I'm moving towards and what I'm moving away from. And so just again, a quick recap. I'm moving towards love. I'm moving away from depression. I'm moving towards happiness, and I'm moving away from stress. Okay, my third one, I'm moving towards health, and I'm moving away from laziness. Now, why is laziness my number three moving away from value? The reason, because laziness, like, health is beautiful because, like, look, you're using what like God gave you, what the creator gave you, what the universe gave you. I don't know what you believe spiritually, but you were given this heart of yours that beats. You didn't have to work for this shit. Like, did someone just gave it to you, dude? Like, it's yours. And so for me, laziness is so disgusting to me, because it's like I would have to basically give up my ability. Like, I'm here to do something. I have the opportunity to get on here and do a podcast. I have the opportunity to pick up my guitar and write a song. I have the opportunity to share a beautiful message that could help somebody else's life. I have an opportunity here. And so laziness to me means I throw my opportunity away. Do you think I'm going to throw my opportunity away? No. So laziness is so important to avoid for me in my personal life. So number four was freedom. And I'm moving towards freedom, and I'm moving away from frustration. So frustration to me is something I really want to move away from, because I growing up, I dealt with a lot of anger and frustration issues. And so just like depression, how I said I grew up with depression, I know what it's about, and I don't want anything to do with that shit no more. That's how I feel about frustration. I used to get so frustrated about things that we're out of my control, right? That's how frustration happens. A lot of the times it's like, oh, this thing happened and there's nothing I could do about it. So it's, I'm so frustrated, like, this sucks. Sometimes frustration even comes from you have the ability to do something about it, but you're just not, right? Like, oh, I could do something about it, but I'm not. And so it's frustrating me. And it's like, so frustration to me is the opposite of freedom, because freedom means, look, I'm free to do what I want, to be what I want, to go where I want, to do all these things. It's beautiful, it's amazing. And frustration is like, like this sucks. Frustration is not cool for me. So that's my number 4 moving away from. Number 5. Ooh, 6 o'clock. The alarm means smile. Okay. So the next one I'm talking about, the last one is success. So I'm moving towards success and I'm moving away from rejection. Now this is an interesting one, guys. This is one that I was listening, I was reading through my values today, and this is something that I figured I might actually change. I might change this. Why? Because to be successful, odds are you're going to be rejected, right? Odds are at some point to be successful, somebody's not going to like it. You cannot please everybody. And I know this because a big part of my life has been dedicated to trying to please everybody, and I failed multiple times, and it's just brought me nothing but stress, overwhelm, depression, frustration. You cannot please everybody. And so I'm probably going to change this, honestly. Rejection is my number 5, moving away from value, but I'm not perfect at this, but my goal right now is to learn to accept rejection, learn to love rejection, right? Because think about it, the more I'm rejected, the more I put myself out there and somebody rejects me, that gives me more opportunity to succeed. That gives me more opportunity, because if you look at, there's so many success stories of people like Colonel Sanders, for example. Oh yeah, like I'm not a big fan of chicken, believe me, freaking vegan guy and everything. But this guy had so much persistence, so much determination, so much dedication. He went out and he went to hundreds, I think it was like 1,000 different restaurants saying, look, I got this freaking chicken recipe and I will give you this recipe. All you got to do is give me some of the proceeds of what you make. You earn some money off this chicken, you give me some money. And he got like 1,000 no's, hundreds of no's, and rejected hundreds of times. And until finally at one point he was accepted. He succeeded. And what happened? You see KFC everywhere. It's disgusting. But it's like he made it happen, right? Success. Because he was rejected so many times. And this happened. Sylvester Stallone is a great example. You know, he's an actor who, for his Rocky film, he got rejected so many times by so many different people about creating the film Rocky. And finally he got accepted. Finally somebody accepted him and said, you know what, buddy, we'll do this movie, but you can't be in it. And he's like, whoa, like I wrote the movie. I'm supposed to be Rocky. I'm supposed to be the main character. And they said, no, we will make this movie. We will make Rocky, but you cannot act in it because we don't like your accent. We don't like your face, whatever it is, right? So he's rejected so many times, and he was finally rejected to the point where he said, yo, check it out. Like, we don't like your face, so like, we're going to reject you. And he still somehow managed to succeed. He held out. So that's something that you're going to have to realize is sometimes your values pull you apart. Sometimes your values pull you apart. This is a really interesting thing that I heard Tony say that makes me really think. It really gets my head going. He says, people will violate their values to meet their needs. They will violate their values to meet their needs. Think about that. If my number 1 value is love, but I have a need for significance or I have a need for certainty, and what that means is I will always choose my needs over my values. And so, because our values, sure, they're important, but we will violate our values to meet our needs. So the most productive way, what does that mean? How could we, make sense of this and work it together? How we make sense of this is we turn our needs into our values. We make sure our needs and our values are aligned, so that when we're looking for something, when we're going after a certain state, love, success, freedom, whatever it is, health, happiness, that's also in alignment with our values. It's in alignment with our moving away from values and our needs, and everything kind of works together. And what happens? Why do we get so lost on our path of life? What happens for a lot of people is their values are contradicting each other. They're either they're moving towards and moving away from values are contradicting each other, or their needs and their values are contradicting each other. And that's no way to live. It's just not going to work that way. So Look, guys, I hope this episode inspired you. I really do, because this is something that's been going on in my head for a long time. And I'm still, like I said in this episode, I'm going to go in and change my values tomorrow, probably, when I go through and read my affirmations, read my goals, read my values, and read my plan for my life like I do every day, my creed, my manifesto, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to change some things just because through talking to you guys here, I've realized some things about myself that I could change. So go out there, discover what your values are. Discover what you're moving towards, moving away from values are. And it's going to be so huge for you guys, because you guys are actually going to know what it is that drives you and what pushes you, right? So we got somebody on Periscope, just me. Sorry, I'm just finishing up the episode. I'm glad you tuned in. We talked all about core values, the stuff you're moving towards, the stuff you're moving away from. We talked about my story a little bit, how I went from being depressed, frustrated, upset, addicted to alcohol and junk food and hatred, and finally moving into a place in my life where I'm making progress. I'm not where I want to be. I haven't achieved all my goals. I haven't made it all happen, but I'm making progress every single day, and it inspires the shit out of me, and I love it. So I hope you guys are inspired as well by this episode. Hey, we do this show every single day, Monday to Friday. Not every single day. I mean, Saturday and Sunday we don't. But Monday to Friday, we got this show going. We interview all sorts of amazing guests in the personal development world, people with an inspiring message, musicians, fitness instructors, like artists, whoever. It doesn't even matter, man. If you have a message that will inspire people, if you are all about empowerment and empowering humanity to do amazing things, to live better lives, to experience more pleasure and eliminate more suffering, eliminate pain, that's what this is all about. That's why I do what I do, and that's why we're here for the Implicit Show. So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you guys liked what you heard, simple, man. Subscribe, follow, tune in tomorrow. Share it with somebody who you think might benefit from this. Leave a review on iTunes. Whatever you guys want to do to support us, that'd be amazing. But I think more than anything, what you could do to support Implicit and support the show is to just use what we're talking about here, right? Go into it. Write your core values. Figure out what it is that matters most to you, and it'll drive you, man. And that kind of clarity will change your life. So I'm excited for you guys. I'm freaking excited for you. Pumping me up. Anyways, I'm out of here, guys. Peace. Show your peace sign.